Hello there, everybody. Happy Higher Self Wednesday. How are you? Hope all is well. My name is Karen White, and I am the author of this book, Changing the Game Plan, which is my journey, my workbook of how I work the 12 steps. And it is a workbook. You need to have a sponsor or a clergyman or somebody to work it with you. But it's a wonderful book, and since I wrote it, I've decided to teach the steps, and it's just been fun. I mean, I have gotten to know so many of you, and you're having comments and asking me to speak at your groups, and it's just exciting what's coming out of this. And hopefully, you're getting a lot out of it and you're getting well. Well, as you know, I was supposed to be live on Facebook, and as I went live at noon, they shut me down. So I said, you know what? They don't stop people in recovery. We are in recovery now and we get to keep going. So I'm going to keep going with this and I'm going to teach this video to you. And then as soon as they let me up and running, I will post this video for you to see. And then we will be changing our platforms and I will keep you posted. More than likely, we're going to have to do this on Wednesdays on YouTube, but I will keep you posted. But today, let's start in. Let's start in. I'm going to do a little bit of recap from last week. We had a ball last week. First of all, I want to say thank you for letting me come to you on Wednesdays. It's really, truly a blessing for me. I am learning so much just by watching these videos myself. But let's recap. Let's talk about the steps. That's what we're here for. And last week we were talking at the addictive level. I'm in two programs. I'm a double winner. So I have an addictive program that I'm in, and I'm also in one of the non-programs. So I believe without a shadow of a doubt, and remember, this is my experience and hope that I'm sharing with you, that our program, no matter what 12-step program that you're in, it comes from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous because that is where our guideline for the steps is. That's where it started, that's where it was written, and in no matter what program that I teach from or I'm sponsoring from or coaching from, I'm always coaching from the Big Book as well as the AA 12 and 12, the Al-Anon 12 and 12, and the ODAT. Those are the four original books. And the programs, which is the addictive part, and for the family and friends, and those are the four that I use to do everything with. And so anyhow, the last couple of sessions we've been teaching strictly from the Big Book, and it's been wonderful. I learned so much in going back and looking at these videos. First of all, tell your friends about these videos, tell your family members. This is a good way that they get to know about the 12 steps. As I tell you, bring a pen, a piece of paper, bring all your literature, and get into the study because this is a study group for you and for me as well too. So let's talk about last week. We're on step 10. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And I have to go over the definition of every word in that step because I believe that one of the things that I had found for me that I did not know is I did not connect the dots. Bill Wilson used specific words for specific reasons. And when you look at the meaning of the words, you will understand why. So in this step, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admit it. Continue means to carry further in time, space, or development. Extend. To means towards. Take means to become. Personal means of or relating to a private aspect of a person's life. Inventory means the process of making such a list, report, or record. And means along with, in addition to. When means at the time that. Were, you and I, you and I. We, you. Wrong, a wrong manner, mistakenly, or a wrong course of direction. Promptly means carry out or perform without delay. Admitted to grant to be real, valid, or true. Acknowledge. It means used to refer to a critical situation or a circumstance. So if you take all these definitions of these words and put it together, you get the true meaning of what this step means. Because continue to carry further in time, to carry, to continue, to keep developing. Um, Towards means to. To means towards. Take means to become, so we can become something. Personal means of a relating to a private aspect or a person's life. And we're talking personal to our life, our inventory, our record, our report, the things that we're doing. And along with, it says when, at the time is what when means. We, you, me, were, we are no longer alone. That's why we have all the we's and the thus and the thems. Wrong, in a wrong manner, mistakenly, or when you do something purposely. Promptly, carried out or performed without delay. Do it fast. Admit, to grant to be real, valid, or true. Acknowledge it, used to refer to a critical situation. And that's what this step means. And today, I'm so excited. Guess what? All my non-people, my Al-Anon people, my adult children of alcoholics, my co-dependent people, my emotion anonymous people, my family anonymous people, my game anon people, my NAR anon people. Today is your day. I'm going to teach from the Al-Anon 12 and 12. And I'm a double winner, so I'm in both of these programs faithfully. I love being on the addictive side as well as I love being on the non side. So we're going to teach today. So let's start in the Al-Anon 12 and 12 on page 61. And let's start and let's get through as much as we can, and what we can in the next 30 minutes. We will just continue next week. So it starts by saying each of the preceding steps, especially step 4 through 9, helps prepare us for step 10. Now you always know that I say you get to step 10 by working 1 through 9. You cannot just start on any step. You have to work these steps in order. There's a reason. And I talked about that. If you haven't seen the videos before this, go back and look, because I talk about the promises. And the promises are powerful. They are promised to us. It's not saying maybe this will happen. It's saying if you do this, you will inherit these promises. So this is powerful stuff. And it goes on to say, through these steps, we acknowledge the importance and recognize our shortcomings and admitting them. Through these steps, we acknowledge the importance of recognizing our shortcomings and admitting them. We also realize that for this 12 steps to become a way of life for us, we would continue to observe and evaluate ourselves. The 12 steps is a way of life for the rest of your life. I always talk about it. The routine is a routine. It's a routine. Never get tired of the routine, and you won't get tired of the routine as long as you're working the program and you're working with others. And it goes on to say that we will continue to observe and evaluate ourselves. It says, and continue was a big word that I circled in there. And you know that I love the big words, so circle that word. And it means to resume after interruption. So we will continue to observe, we will continue to resume after interruption, to observe and evaluate ourselves. It goes on to say, our striving for fulfillment persists as we taught ourselves to look for meaning and purpose in everything we did. And I would have never been able to look for meaning and purpose in my life without working steps 1 through 9. It says, it was less difficult if we made an honest effort to absorb and use the earlier steps. Now we got two big words in there, so let's circle them. First of all, effort and absorb. Effort means, it says, determine, attempt. Absorb means take in, and soak up. So let's use these in that sentence. It was less difficult if we made an honest, determined attempt to absorb and soak up. Take in and soak up. Isn't that powerful? And use the earlier steps. It goes on to say, we have already come a long way in the process of improving our lives. And that's where the promises come in. A continued review becomes easier because of our earlier efforts. Because we work steps 1 through 9, it becomes easier to do step 10. And we're so willing by this time because we've already seen the results of how this will work. We've already done the inventory. We've already removed our defective characters, put them in the right place, or taken them out of our life. We've made our amends. We feel better. We're not judging ourselves as much as we used to. We're not judging others. It goes on to say, we had an ever clearer picture of what we wanted to change. It says, this self-knowledge came all the mere ready when it was boasted by our willingness to correct our mistakes as soon as they happen. And it's interesting because I looked up that word boasted, and boasted means compelling or overwhelming. Isn't that interesting? So when it was overwhelming and compelling by our willingness to correct our mistakes as soon as they happen. It goes on to say, old habits and thoughts and actions become less automatically and compelling. And if you look at that and think, old habits and thoughts and actions become less automatic and compelling, we start to see ourselves learning a lesson before we talk or before we act, before we do things. We can feel when by this time we're starting to notice those feelings of, oh, you better not do that. You better not do that. It goes on to say, each time we overcome one, we realize rich dividends in self-knowledge. And the big word in that is dividends, because dividends means a benefit from an action or a policy. So if we go back and read that, we'll say each time we overcame one, we received rich benefits from an action. Isn't that powerful? I just love these steps in self-knowledge. When we came to recognize we have, let me start all over again. When we came to recognize we had done something unwise, unkind, or ungenerous, we didn't feel quite easy until we had corrected the area. And the error, not area, error. Recognize means identify. So when we look at this, when we came to identify we had done something unwise, unkind, and ungenerous, we didn't feel quite easy until we had corrected the error. These big words are powerful. And then it goes on in the next paragraph. There was a valuable bonus in devoting ourselves to step 10. It helped us realize that the error we made, hurt us. So let me read that again. There was a valuable bonus in devoting ourselves to step 10. It helped us to realize that the error we made hurt us. So let's circle the word valuable. Valuable means extremely useful or important. So let's go back. There was a extremely useful or important bonus in devoting ourselves to step 10. It says it helped us to realize that our errors that we made hurt us. Interesting. And it goes on to say, surely none of us want our spiritual progress hampered. And that's a big word, so circle that, because hampered means hindered or the movement of progress. It means hinder our movement of progress. So if we look at that, surely none of us want our spiritual progress to be hindered, do we? Or having unamended errors waiting on our conscience. We were not comfortable when we found ourselves in a situation we had created and wish we hadn't. When we noticed we had reacted through selfishness, resentment, or any other faults. Isn't that interesting? Selfishness, resentment, and any other faults. By this time, we know our selfishness, we know our resentments, and we know our faults. Why? Because we work 1 through 6 and 7. And by the time you get to 6 and 7, you know. And it goes on to say, we realize these shortcomings were not entirely rooted out in our work with steps 4 through 7. It goes on to say lapse, and that's a big word. Lapse means passage of times in our behavior hurts us, perhaps even more than they hurt others. That's why this step is so important, because it teaches us not to lapse in making our amends. Because when we do that, when we lapse in making these amends, we start to procrastinate, and we start to look at them that, oh, maybe we weren't wrong, maybe they were wrong, maybe we shouldn't do this. But we know that there's consequences to us holding on to this stuff. We cannot anymore. We cannot hold on to this stuff. We have to get it out of us, because we know that after that, guilt, fear, dishonesty, anything can come behind us lapsing in doing what we need to do for ourselves in this program. It goes on to say, however, they could also be lessons for growth. For this reason, we kept ourselves alert to what we did and said. We promptly corrected whatever mistake we made. It goes on to say, thoughtfully consideration convicted us. Can you imagine? By this time, we're thoughtful and we're considerate. Can you imagine? When I came in here, I was not thoughtful and considerate. But by this time, you get from 1 to 9, you start to realize, and because you start to understand yourself, you start to understand others, you start to understand why they do what they do, and be more compassionate about what they're doing. It's a lot of stuff that goes on with this. And we got a dog outside barking. So cute. It says, thoughtfully consideration convinced us that our views of a person or a situation were not necessarily infallible. And infallible means incapable of making mistakes or being wrong. So thoughtful consideration convinced us that our views of a person or a situation was not necessarily incapable of making mistakes, of being wrong. Because in this program, the non-program, we're a little bit different. Our consideration of other people's ways and other people's thoughts and what they want to do with their life starts to interfere with us. And we're not very understanding that God has made them the way that they are, and that they have to go through the things that they have to go through to get where we had to go through and get to in our lives, not wanting people to interfere in our lives. And it says, if we could not accept the rights of others to see things differently, and differently means if we could not accept the right of others to see things not the same, that's what differently means. And that's a big word too. We might have blundered into problems, and blundered means make a step or careless mistake. If we don't consider other people's differences not the same as us, we make a stupid and careless mistake into problems. And it says, those of our own making. We blunder into problems of our own making by not being considerate. Taking step 10 gives us the opportunity to spare ourselves the consequences of being stubbornly opinionated. Now, opinionated means, it's interesting, assertive and dogmatic of one's opinion. That's what opinionated means. So let's go back and read that. Take step 10 gives us the opportunity to spare ourselves the consequences of being stubbornly, and that's what it says, assertive and dogmatic of one's opinion. Wow. It reminds us that we were not all wise and that the philosophy of our steps is based on humility, on acknowledgement of a power greater than ourselves. And it goes on to say, step 10 asks us to continue to take actions to wipe the slate clean and avoid building up regrets. And how we know that so well, because we come in here with so much shame and so much regret that it's at the point that we want to die. We want to kill ourselves. And this is on the non side. We want to kill ourselves. And it says again, we saw that the Al Anon program was centered on us. It's amazing because on the addictive side, it's considered I have to get rid of that addiction. What I'm in, I gotta stop that. It's about the addiction and getting to the point of why I'm doing that. On this side, it's centered on me and why I do things the way I do things without anything going on in Karen's life. Or developing our own contentment, which contentment is a big word too. And you know the big words, circle them. A state of happiness and satisfaction. So it says again, we saw that the Al Anon program was centered on us, on developing our own state of happiness and satisfaction with life. Wow. So much choice here, people, that we have when we decide that we're going to buckle down and to whatever extent we have to do, get better and work these steps. And that's why my book, Changing the Game Plan, it is such an excellent workbook, because in here it is such a guideline to how to work these steps and get through these steps so that your life can get changed around and things can get better for you. It goes on to say, this leads us to still another thought, not to allow ourselves to be affected or influenced by the demands and expectations of others. This is really important. This is what happened to me once I got out of my addictive behavior, and then I started getting better. And then I started being liked again, because, you know, when you're doing things that you shouldn't do, some very important people in your life might not like you. And when they started liking me again, I thought, oh my God. And I found myself going down the path where I didn't want to do anything wrong. It's so funny when you're in your addictive behavior, you really don't care. You're like, whatever, I got to do what I got to do. But now I got well, and I was like, oh, they like me. They like what I'm doing. And I started giving up myself again. And I had to be very, very careful, because you cannot become people pleasing in this program. You still have to maintain the honesty and the truth of being who you are, no matter what level you're at, because we will always be working on ourselves, always. This is not a program of perfection. This is a program of keep doing what you're doing and getting better and heading toward perfection. And it goes on to say, in our relationship with families and friends, we may have felt we were only trying to please when we did what someone else thought we should. We thought we were being unselfish when we put aside our own preferences. And that's a big word, because preferences mean favor shown to one person or thing over another or others. That means my preferences of putting your thoughts, or what I think that you're going to think of me being honest and true with myself, over the consequences of me not doing what I need to do for myself to feel better about myself and sending me back into a dive or a situation that could cost me myself and my self-love for myself. It goes on to say that what we were really doing was damaging ourselves. Perhaps we were afraid to refuse a request or a demand. Maybe we were worried we would cross someone, especially if it was the alcoholic trying to manipulate and control us. In standing our grounds, we help others realize that they could not impose their unreasonable, which unreasonable is a big word here, behavior on us. So if I go back and I say not impose their unfair and unacceptable behavior on me. Because whether I'm expecting it of a person to do what I want them to do, or if someone else is expecting me to do what they want me to do, is unacceptable behavior today. And it says, we were properly, and that's a big word, properly means correctively or satisfaction, protecting our own right to what was best for us. And it goes on to say, beware that right served a dual beneficial purpose and strengthen us to meet our difficulties with courage and confidence. Let's go back. Being aware of the right served a dual beneficial purpose and strengthens us to meet our difficulties with courage and confidence. And dual means consists of two parts, elements, or aspect. Being considerate that you have your opinion, I have my opinion, but I have to do what's best for me. And I'm sorry that it affects you, but if it's best for me, it just has to be best for me, and I just have to do it because this is my life, my purpose, my path. And it goes on to say, by working step 10, we observe what we did and why we did it. Examining our motives provide us with the tools, not roots, but it is kind of like our roots. That's funny I said that. To free ourselves of many problems that had troubled us in the past. And I'll repeat that sentence again. Examining our motives provide us with the tools to free ourselves of many problems that had troubled us in the past. What a powerful, powerful step here. Without step 10 on a daily basis for me, I lose perspective. I get into self-justification. I get into that higher me type behavior. If I don't take time to realize my wrongs and be acceptable that I am not going to do everything right all the time, and that I have tools now that will help me get better, and when I don't do things right, they can make it better for me. I get to go back and repair my damage if I damage something. But today is so important in that we continue on a daily basis to sit down at the end of our day, or if you want to go to sleep at night and wake up in the beginning of the morning and do what you think about what you did the day before and correct it however you do your step 10. Look at your progress on a daily basis. It surely will help keep you out of circumstances that hinder you, that cause you problems, that stress you out, that make you not like yourself, that make you not like others, that just the fear, the guilt, the shame. We're trying to be better now. We're trying to live in love, peace, acceptance, stay out of people's stuff. Don't allow them in stuff for us that we know we really don't want to have the answers to what they say. we're living a better life today. We're living a more routine and a more powerful, blessed life because of these steps. Remember, 1 through 9 gets you to 10. This is a great step. We will continue on this next week. And as I say, keep going to meetings, keep reading your literature, talk to your sponsors, and stay into the guidance of the 12 steps. And remember, my workbook is available, Changing the Game Plan. It's on Amazon. It's a great workbook. It works you through these steps. It will help guide you. And I hope you like what I said today. Remember, take what you like and leave the rest. And blessings over you today, great people.